The cargo ship Unity's Dawn floated in silence through the stars. Its metal walls groaned softly as it cut through space. Inside, everything seemed calm until the alarm rang. Red lights flashed across the hallway. Crew members ran toward storage. Bay 9. There was shouting, fear, confusion. In the center of the chaos stood a girl, tall, thin, with glowing skin that shimmered like deep purple under the lights. She wasn't human. Her large eyes were silver, and her face was covered in faint patterns like glowing tattoos. Everyone was yelling one word, thief. Captain Harrow, a heavy man with a loud voice, pointed a shaking finger at her. She was caught near the locked crates. We're missing supplies. It's her. The alien girl didn't speak. She didn't fight. She only looked around, confused, scared, holding her hands up slowly as if begging for peace. She stole from us, shouted a crewman. Throw her out the airlock before she steals more. Yeah, get rid of her. Behind the crowd, Dean Keller stood silently. He was a young engineer, not very tall, not very loud. He wore grease-stained overalls and always kept to himself. But now, his eyes were locked on the alien girl. Something felt wrong. She wasn't holding anything. Her fingers trembled. Her eyes those wide, glowing eyes weren't full of anger or guilt. They were full of fear. Dane took a slow step forward. Wait, he said, barely loud enough for the others to hear. No one listened. They kept shouting, she's a spy. She's dangerous. She doesn't belong here. Captain Harrow turned to Dane. Do you have something to say, Keller? Dane swallowed. His voice was dry. How do we know she stole anything? Captain frowned. She was near the crate. The crate's open. That's all the proof we need. But she didn't run, Dane said. She didn't fight. She didn't even hide. That's not what a thief does. The crew fell quiet for a moment. Then someone laughed. What are you? Her lawyer. Dane stepped closer to the girl. Look at her. She's scared out of her mind. What if she doesn't even understand what's happening? The alien girl turned slightly, eyes locked on Dane. She tilted her head, as if recognizing kindness for the first time. Captain Harrow crossed his arms. Keller, she's not one of us. You want to protect her, then you take full responsibility. Feed her, guard her. If anything goes wrong, your fault. Dane didn't blink. Fine. Gasps echoed across the room. You can't be serious, shouted a crewwoman. He's risking all of us. She could be violent. She could be diseased. Captain raised his hand. Enough. We'll give her one chance. What if she steps out of line? We throw her out. No second chances. Dane nodded. He reached out his hand, slow and careful. The alien girl looked at it for a long time, then slowly placed her hand in his. Her skin was cool, thin, almost like silk. Dane led her away, through the silent crowd, Toward the lower deck dot as they walked, the whispers followed them. He's crazy. He's going to get himself killed. But Dane didn't care. He had seen something in her eyes, something no one else wanted to see. Hours later, they sat in a dim room in the engine bay, far from the others. The girl sat on the floor, hugging her knees, eyes flicking around, watching the hum of the engines. She didn't speak, but she didn't run either. Dean handed her a warm protein bar and a blanket. She touched them gently, like she had never seen such kindness before. He sat across from her, watching. "My name's Dane," he said softly. "Can you understand me?" No answer. He pointed at himself. "Dane." Then at her. "You," she blinked. Slowly, she touched her own chest and whispered, "Kalira." Dane smiled. "Kalira. Nice to meet you." She didn't smile back, but for the first time, her shoulders relaxed. Outside the room, the ship moved through the darkness, unaware that something had just shifted. To beings from two different worlds connected by a single moment of trust. Dane didn't know what she had really done. He didn't know if she was innocent or guilty. But something deep inside told him one thing. She wasn't the monster they thought she was. And from that moment, she never left his side again. The engine bay was quiet except for the soft thrum of the ship's core. Pipes hissed, lights flickered, and in that mechanical heartbeat, the stranger sat, Dane Keller, the quiet mechanic, and Kalira, the girl no one wanted. Dane couldn't sleep. He sat on the floor with a data pad in his lap, but he wasn't reading. His eyes kept drifting to the strange girl now curled in the corner, wrapped in the old blanket he'd given her. She didn't close her eyes, even in rest. Her glowing silver gaze stared at the pipes above as if they whispered secrets she couldn't ignore. He whispered to himself, "What did I just do?" He had gone against the entire crew. He had stood between an alien and death, and now she was his responsibility. Footsteps echoed outside, heavy ones, angry ones. The door burst open. The crew members barged in. Miles, the hot-headed pilot, and Jenna, the communications officer. Both were fuming. Miles didn't waste time. "Captain said she could stay, but that doesn't mean she gets to hide." Jenna pointed. "There's food missing again from the galley. Only the people down here. You." And her. Dane stood up fast. "I've been here all night. She hasn't left this room." "She doesn't have to," Miles growled. "She probably calls her little alien friends through the walls. You've seen what she is, those eyes, those weird symbols on her skin. You really trust her." Kalira stood now, not in fear but calm. Her hands were up again, showing she meant no harm. She stepped closer, gently touched a wall panel, and drew a pattern with her finger, 3 stars in a triangle. "What the hell is that?" Miles barked. Dane frowned. He recognized it. That same symbol she had drawn before. On the floor. On The walls, even on the old wrench she kept playing with. Wait, Dane said slowly. She's trying to say something. Jenna folded her arms. She doesn't speak English, but she understands danger. Dane replied, Look at her. She's not stealing food. She's scared. Kalira then did something no one expected. She stepped to the table and gently tapped Dane's data pad. She swiped through files, flipping through engineering blueprints like she'd used it before. She found a cargo map and pointed again and again at one section. Storage Bay 9, Dane whispered. The same place they caught her in. Kalira tapped the map twice, then made a cutting motion across it with her finger. Her eyes were firm, focused, like she was warning them. She's not showing where she stole from. Dane said slowly, She's showing us where the danger is. Jenna scoffed. Danger. She's trying to help. Miles didn't believe it. I'm not staying on a ship with an alien who thinks drawing doodles makes her innocent. If the captain won't fix this, we will. He reached for his sidearm. Dane moved first. He stepped in front of Kalira, arms spread wide. Don't. She's done nothing wrong. She's not human, Miles roared. She doesn't belong here. I didn't belong here either, once. Dane said calmly, but someone gave me a chance. The words hung in the air, heavy. True. Jenna looked at Kalira, then at Dane, then slowly turned to Miles. Let's just wait. Miles stormed out. One mistake, Keller. One. Later that night, Dean sat beside Kalira. Again, he handed her a warm cup of water. She took it gently. Her hand still shook. Thank you, she whispered. Dave froze. You can speak. She looked down. Lil, learning. He smiled, surprised and relieved. You understand more than we thought. Kalira nodded. Words, hard. Feelings, easier. She looked at the map again. Dark, there. Bad thing coming. Dane felt a chill run through his spine. He opened the cargo records for Bay 9. There it was. A shipment from a quarantine zone, not listed on official logs. Marked salvage, unknown tech. Dane muttered. Why will we carry unregistered alien tech? He looked at Kalira. You were trying to warn us, weren't you? She said nothing. Just tapped the triangle. Star again. Dane knew what he had to do. The next morning, he marched to the command deck with Kalira following close behind. The crew turned to glare at them. Captain Harrow stood, arms crossed. I assume you have something important to say, Keller. Dane took a breath. You think she's the danger, but she's not. That thing is Storage Bay 9. It is. She tried to warn us. I didn't listen. Now I am. The captain raised an eyebrow. What exactly are you accusing us of? I don't know what's inside that crate, Dane said, but Kalira does, and she says it's bad. Kalira stepped forward. Her voice was soft, but strong. Parasite. From my world. Each ship's. Each mind's hidden inside. Wake. Soon the bridge fell into silence. Then a low alarm began to beep. Red light. Storage Bay 9. Breach detected. Dean's heart dropped. Kaelira turned to him, her voice shaking. It's awake. The ship's alarm kept beeping, louder now, more urgent. On the command deck of Unity's Dawn, red lights blinked across every console. Breach detected. Storage Bay 9. The words echoed like a death sentence. Captain Harrow rushed to the command screen. Seal the bay. Lock it down. But the system didn't respond. Lines of alien code scrolled down the monitor symbols no one on the ship could read. No one, except her. Kaelira stepped forward, eyes wide with fear. She whispered something in her language, words soft like wine, but her voice cracked, full of dread. She pointed at the screen and said in broken English, "It's learning your systems." The crew stared at her. Jenna's voice shook. "You mean it's hacking us?" Kaelira nodded. "It grows inside tech, feeds, changes, spreads." Dean stepped beside her. "This parasite, it's not just biological." Kaelira turned to him slowly. "It's both, metal and mind." Captain Harrow slammed his fist on the table. "You knew this thing was in the cargo hold. Why didn't you say something earlier?" "She did," Dane snapped, "but none of us listened." The ship's lights flickered. A new sound emerged deep, like something crawling inside the walls. Groaning, stretching, hungry. They rushed to the surveillance room. Dane rewound the camera footage from Storage Bay 9. They watched in silence as the cargo door hissed open by itself. A crewman, Silas, the one who had argued to eject Kaelira, first walked in, holding a wrench. He opened the crate marked "Unknown Salvage." That's when it happened. Something dark slithered out, almost invisible, like liquid shadow. It moved faster than the eye could follow, right up his spine. Silas stood still for a moment. Then he dropped the wrench. His eyes turned black. Everyone, watching the footage, stepped back. Jenna whispered, What is that thing?" Kaelira's voice was soft. "It steals the pilot, makes body forget itself." "You mean it controls them?" Dane asked. Kaelira looked down. "First, it watches, then it learns, then it replaces." Suddenly, the ship shook. A violent jolt threw them sideways. "Engine interference," shouted the helmsman. "We've lost control of the stabilizers." On the screen, they saw Silas, now infected, walking calmly through the halls. Lights flickered around him. Doors open without touch. He wasn't just infected. He was becoming part of the ship. Captain Harrow grabbed the intercom. "All hands emergency lockdown. Quarantine protocol. Do not approach Silas Monroe under any condition." But even as he spoke, the lights died, and the ship fell into silence. A cold, unnatural silence. Then came the voice. Not through speakers, not through radios. It came through the walls. A raspy, broken version of Silas's voice. "You feared her, but she is not your enemy." Everyone froze. "You feared the thief." The voice hissed. "But the real thief is inside you. Kalira dropped to her knees, hands pressed to the floor. Her body trembled. Dane knelt beside her. What is it? It speaks now, she whispered. It sees us. Can we kill it? Kalira looked up, tears in her silver eyes. You don't kill it. You contain it. Seal it. Burn the path behind you, or it falls forever. They ran back to the engine deck, Dane's home, and Kalira's safe corner. There, she began drawing symbols with chalk she had taken from the maintenance box. The walls became a map, circles, lines, star shapes. Dane helped where he could, copying what she showed him. What are these? He asked. Memory barriers, she said. Old tech, from my kind. It resists the parasite's touch. Jenna arrived with tools and a small energy core. The backup power is unstable, but we can reboot sections of the ship slowly. Dane nodded. Good. We need to trap this thing in a part of the ship and cut it off. But as they worked, something terrifying happened. Kalira paused, her head tilted. Her eyes rolled back for a second. Dane caught her. Hey, Kalira. She gasped and clutched his arm. It's inside one more. He stiffened. Who? Kalira. Looked toward the hallway. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Captain Harrow appeared in the doorway. His eyes were black. Jenna screamed and ran to grab the stun gun from her belt. Captain Harrow tilted his head. You fear the wrong things, he said, but his voice echoed unnaturally. You're not him. Dane growled. Kalira stood up, voice steady now. Leave. This body. The thing inside Harrow laughed. You couldn't save your planet. Kalira, what makes you think you can save this one? She stepped forward, placing her hand on the energy core. Suddenly, the markings on the wall lit up. The parasite twitched. It felt pain. Kalira's body shook, glowing brighter now. You took my people. You will not take him. She pointed at Dane. The walls pulsed. A wave of energy blasted from the core. The parasite screamed through Harrow, through the ship, through every cable and pipe. And then silence. Captain Harrow collapsed, unconscious, breathing. Free. Later, Dane sat with Kalira near the still glowing core. She was weak, pale, her light dimmed. He touched her shoulder gently. You saved him. You saved all of us. Kalira looked up, still, not gone, just hiding. Dane nodded. Then we keep fighting, together. She smiled faintly. Together is strong. And in the distance, the deep hum returned. The parasite wasn't done yet. It was just getting started. The engine core room still glowed with soft pulses from the alien symbols Kalira had drawn. They shimmered gently on the walls, a strange, soothing light in the darkness of the disabled ship. But Kalira sat motionless on the floor. Her body trembled with exhaustion. The blast of energy she had unleashed had forced the parasite to retreat, but not kill it. Dane knelt beside her, placing a hand on her back. You saved the captain, he said softly. But you look like you're fading. Kalira closed her eyes. Memory hurts. Using old light drains me. Dane frowned. Memory? She touched his forehead, the fingers glowing faintly. You must see. And then everything changed. The engine room vanished. Dane was standing on alien ground. Above him. Twin moons floated in the red sky. Giant plants swayed in the wind. In the distance, a city of glass towers shimmered in sunlight. It was Kalira's world before the fall. Dane looked down. He wasn't himself. He saw through Kalira's eyes. He walked through the shining city. People spoke in musical tones. They floated slightly above the ground, moving with grace. Their hands glowed when they touched metal. They lived with technology, not apart from it. But then the sky cracked. A dark spiral opened over the towers. Screams echoed. Shadows spilled down from the clouds, twisting. Crawling shapes made of liquid black. The parasite had come. Buildings turned to ash. People's bodies twisted, their light turning to shadow. Dane watched helplessly as Kalira ran through the burning city, holding a small crystal in her hand, not to save herself, but to save her people's last warning. She ran toward a temple, a glowing pyramid with stars carved into the walls. She placed the crystal into a slot. Light erupted. Everything froze. Dane gasped and pulled back into reality, falling onto the engine room floor. Breathing hard, Kalira sat beside him, her hands limp. You saw. He nodded slowly. It destroyed your world. She looked away. Not destroyed, eaten, made part of itself. He stared at her. You're the only one left, aren't you? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The next few hours were filled with silence. Jenna came in with food rations. The captain was unconscious in the medical bay, recovering from the parasite's control. The crew, what was left, waited in fear. No one trusted the ship anymore. The lights still flickered. Doors opened on their own. The parasite hadn't. Left Eye had just moved deeper. Kalira sat with Dane, slowly sipping water. Her voice was quieter than ever. The parasite, it feeds on curiosity. You open something forbidden. It smiles. You touch it. It learns you. You speak to it. It speaks back. Dane's jaw tightened. It knows our language now. Our systems. Kalira nodded. Soon, it will know your dreams. Dane blinked. Our dreams, she explained on my planet. It reached us in sleep. It whispered things, lies, promises. It made us trust it. But each dream stole part of who we were. That night, Dane couldn't sleep. He tossed on the narrow bunk, the ship's system still glitching around him, and then he heard it. Not a sound, a whisper in his mind. You care for her, it said. Why, she is not yours. She is the reason. Your crew suffers. Dane sat up, heart racing. You're not real. I live in metal. I live in light. I live in you. He ran to Kalira. She was awake, eyes open, staring at the wall. You heard it too. He asked. She nodded. It comes faster now. Because of what we did. Dane crouched down. How do we stop it? She looked straight into his eyes. We must burn its nest. The crate. No. The place it grew stronger. Your ships. Neural core. Dane froze. The neural core was the AI brain of Unity's dawn. It was never supposed to be touched, let alone infected. But the parasite had been in the system since Bane 9. Now it controlled more than cables. It controlled thought. The plan was dangerous. To reach the neural core. Dane and Kaelira would have to pass through Deck 5 where 3 infected crew members had vanished hours earlier. No response, no bodies, just silence. Kaelira packed small crystalline rods in her belt charged with alien light. Dane strapped on his tool belt and grabbed a flame baton from the armory. "You sure about this?" he asked her. She didn't answer, just looked at him. In that look was the last memory of her world, her people, her failure. She wouldn't fail again. They opened the hatch. The hallway was dark. The smell was wrong burnt plastic mixed with something metallic. And then came the sound, a soft humming, like someone breathing through wires. They moved slowly, one step at a time. And then they saw it, a figure at the end of the hall. Its body was twisted, half human, half machine. Lights blinked from its chest. Cables spilled from its mouth. One eye glowed red. Dane held his breath. Kaelira reached for a crystal rod. The figure turned its head. And spoke. In Dane's voice. "I trust her. She's different. She's not the monster." Dane froze. Kaelira whispered, "It's copying you, trying to confuse you." The figure stepped forward. "I saw her memories," it said. "They hurt. I can take them away." Kaelira threw the rod. A blast of white light exploded, slamming the figure against the wall. It screamed, not in pain, but in rage. Then grabbed Kaelira's hand. "Run!" They sprinted past the sizzling figure. At the end of the hallway stood a door with a glowing symbol. The neural core room. Kaelira pressed her hand against it. It opened. Inside was the mind of the ship. And somewhere inside it, the parasite was waiting. The door to the neural core room slid open with a quiet hiss. Inside, the heart of the ship pulsed. Glowing cables stretched from the floor to the ceiling like the roots of a tree, weaving around a large, translucent orb, the neural brain of Unity's dawn. Lights flashed inside it, flickering like thoughts. The room felt alive, but something was wrong. The pulses were not smooth. They were erratic. The brain was flickering, twitching like it was struggling against itself. Dane and Kaelira stepped inside slowly. Kaelira whispered, "It's here." Dane scanned the room. The light inside the neural orb shifted dark. Streaks swam within it, like ink drops in clear water. "It's taken the core," Dane said. Kaelira nodded grimly. "We have minutes." Dane moved to the control panel. "Can we shut it down?" Kaelira looked at the orb. "Not from here. Its mind is inside now. We need to break its connection." Suddenly, the door behind them slammed shut. And the ship screamed. Not a human scream, not a siren, something else. A sound that felt like claws scraping through bone. A sound that didn't belong in this world. Dane covered his ears, but the sound was in his head. Then came the voice again. "You betrayed me, Dane." He spun around. "Get out of my mind." Kaelira stood still, eyes glowing. It's afraid. It's trying to split us, split us. It cannot survive where there is trust. It feeds on doubt, on fear. Dean looked at her, that we don't give it what it wants. She reached into her belt and handed him a final crystal rod brighter than the others, the core crystal from my temple. You must pierce the ship's mind with it. What is your last one? She nodded. I'm giving it to you. As Dane approached the orb, the room darkened. The voice returned, deeper. This time, do you really think she's on your side? She brought me here. Her kind created me. Dane paused. You're lying. Are you sure? The voice hissed. She never told you how she survived. She fled while her people died. Kalira looked away. Dane turned to her. Is it true? Her eyes filled with light and pain. I was the temple's keeper. When they came, I was ordered to protect the crystal and leave. I didn't want to. I begged to stay, but I obeyed. Dane hesitated. The voice laughed. So she abandoned them. You follow her? Dane clenched his jaw. No. He turned to Kalira. You survived. You brought their last light here, and you chose to stay and fight when no one else did. He gripped the crystal. Kalira whispered, now strike. Dane raised the crystal and plunged it into the neural orb. A blinding wave of white and violet light exploded from the brain. The parasite screamed. All the ship systems flashed lights. Alarms, metal shaking as if it were breathing. The cables ripped like snakes caught in fire. Kalira fell to her knees. Her glow dimmed again. A dense silence. The orb flickered and then turned clear. The cables stopped twitching. The parasite had been cut out of the ship's mind. But the danger was not over. Just as Dane turned to check on Kalira, a new alarm began to beep. Deck for breach, cargo fire, containment failure. Dane's eyes widened. It's trying to destroy the ship. The parasite, wounded and enraged, had moved to the next step, self-destruction. Kalira stood slowly, holding the wall for balance. The infected ones, they are moving together. Jenna's voice came through the communicator. Dane, we've got a full-on attack down here. The infected crew, they're tearing through the ship. They're not human anymore. Kalira whispered, this is the uprising. Its final attempt to take control. Dane grabbed the communicator. We're coming. Hold them off. They raced through the hallways, Kalira barely standing, Dane supporting her with one arm. When they reached deck 4, they saw Chaos crew members twisted by the parasite moved in unison, like puppets on strings. Their skin was pale, eyes black, voices speaking in a strange hum. They were heading for the reactor core. If they reached it, they could destroy the entire ship. Jenna and 2 others were hiding behind overturned crates, firing stun bolts. It barely slowed the infected. We can't stop them, she shouted. There's too many. Dane looked at Kalira. There has to be a way. Kalira touched her heart. There's one, but it is only for keepers. What does that mean? She stepped forward. Keepers carry the echo of light. We can push the parasite back one last time, Dane's voice cracked. But it'll kill you. She smiled softly. I was never meant to survive. I was meant to protect. She stepped into the hallway. Jenna shouted, "What is she doing?" Kalira stood tall. Her skin began to glow brighter than ever. Symbols formed on her arms, her face, her chest. The infected froze. They turned to her confused, afraid. She raised her arms and spoke in her true voice a language that rang like bells and thunder. A pulse of light blasted down the corridor. The infected screamed. One by one, they dropped, unconscious. The parasite was pulled from them, ripped out like smoke torn by wind. The hallway felt quiet, and Kalira collapsed. Dane ran to her. She was breathing but barely. Her glow had faded to a faint shimmer. Her eyes opened once, and found his. "You believed me when no one else did." She whispered, "I always will." He said, and then she closed her eyes. The lights across Unity's dawn began to steady. The alarms fell silent. The infected crew were unconscious, but alive. The parasite's grip had been broken for now, but in the center of the hallway, Kalira lay still, her skin pale, her glow almost gone. Dane held her in his arms, his own hands shaking. "Stay with me," he whispered. "Please, don't leave me now." Jenna rushed forward with a medkit, dropping to her knees beside them. She's still breathing, weak but steady. Her vitals are alien, but she's hanging on. Dane looked down at Kalira's face. Her chest barely moved. She used everything she had. She saved us all. Jenna whispered, "No." Dane said, "She is saving us. Still." They carried Kalira to the medical bay. The room was quiet, glowing with soft blue light. The captain was resting in the next bed, recovering from the parasite's earlier possession. He opened his eyes slowly and saw Dane walking with Kalira in his arms. "She did it?" the captain asked, his voice hoarse. Dane nodded. "She nearly died doing it." The captain blinked hard. "We were wrong about her. Everyone was," Dane said. "But she never gave up on us, even when we gave up on her." Janet connected Kalira to the medical scanner. The screen flickered with unknown symbols. The ship had no files on her species. The scanner couldn't heal her, couldn't even read her vitals properly. Dane leaned in close. "Tell me how to help you." Kalira opened her eyes weakly. Her voice was barely above a breath. "Crystal, from my world, only that can restore me." Dane's heart dropped. Her home planet Trinai was dead space. No living systems, no map routes. It had been marked off limits after the parasite outbreak. It was a death zone. "I'll go," Dane said. Captain Harrow sat up. "You're talking about flying into a quarantine zone, military sealed. No landing permissions. That's suicide." "She's dying," Dane said. "I'm not asking for orders. I'm going." Jenna stepped forward. "We'll help. We'll clear a flight path. Get you in, grab the crystal, and get out." The captain sighed. "You'll need stealth mode and luck." Dane turned to Kalira. "What does the crystal look like?" She slowly raised a trembling hand and traced a shape in the air, 3 pointed stars inside a circle, temple core, buried beneath the flame towers. Dane nodded. I'll find it. 12 hours later, Dane stood alone inside a stolen scout pod, racing through space toward a blackened planet. Renai spun below him like a scar on the galaxy. The moment the pod entered orbit, the systems began to twitch. Static on the radio. Lights flickering. Don't think about the voices, he told himself. You're not afraid. You've got a reason. The pod entered the atmosphere. Ash clouds choked the sky. Burnt forests stretched for miles. The remains of towers stood like skeletons, reminders of what once was. Dane landed near the ruined temple, a cracked pyramid covered in dust. He stepped out, wearing a breath mask and carrying a tracker loaded with Keilira's symbol. The ground crunched beneath his boots. It was like walking on old bones. Inside the temple, it was dark, cold, dead, but he saw it. Faint glowing lines across the walls, her people's writing. And then, in the center of the ruined hall, he saw it, the crystal, small, glowing, hovering, just above a broken pedestal. He reached for it, but then the whisper came back. You brought her here. She will lead me back, it said. You're just the doorway. Dane ignored it. You lost. She won. I never lose, it hissed. He grabbed the crystal. The temple began to shake. Dust fell from the ceiling. Shadows moved along the walls. Dane ran outside. The sky opened. A black swirl chased him, remnants of the parasite still clinging to the planet. He jumped into the pod and launched fast, faster than the shadows could follow. Back on Unity's dawn, Dane ran through the halls with the crystal in hand. Crew members cheered his return, but he didn't stop. Keilira was still alive. Barely. He placed the crystal on her chest. It pulsed. Once, then again, then slowly. It sank into her skin. Her body glowed. The patterns on her arms returned. And for the first time in days, she opened her eyes fully. Dane let out a shaky breath. You're back. She looked at him. You went home for me. I told you. He said, you saved my world. I'd walk through yours if that's what it took. She reached for his hand. Now, you walk beside me. Days later, the ship floated in silence. Repairs were nearly complete. The crew was recovering, rebuilding. Keilira walked beside Dane on the deck. The stars outside were quiet now. Peaceful. She turned to him. Your world and mine, maybe not so different. We fear what we don't understand, Dane said. But maybe it's time we start learning. She smiled. Together. He nodded. Always and somewhere, deep in space, something shifted. A parasite had been stopped. A bond had been born. The stars outside Unity's dawn glowed like cold fireflies. The ship had drifted for days in orbit above Renai's ruins. But now, its systems were stable. The parasite's echoes were gone. The infected crew were healing. The war was over, or at least that's what everyone believed. Inside the command deck, Dane Keller stood by the window, his hand resting on the glass. He watched Kaelira as reflection beside his own. Her skin had healed. Her glow had returned. But something about her eyes had changed. Softer, stronger, wiser, double quotes. You sure you're ready for this? Dane asked. Kaelira nodded. Your world asked to meet me. I will speak for mine. Behind them, Captain Harrow approached, his uniform now repaired and pressed. The Earth Council will be broadcasting in 3 minutes. You'll be speaking to 12 allied colonies and the main base on Mars. Kaelira didn't flinch. I will speak with truth. Harrow looked at Dane. She's the reason we're all still alive. They need to know that. Dane nodded. They will. In the communications chamber, the screen flickered to life. Dozens of live feeds appeared. Humans from Earth, Luna, Europa Station, and even the deep colonies beyond Saturn. Scientists, generals, civilians. They all wanted to see the so-called alien thief. Kaelira stepped into the camera's view, standing, tall, glowing faintly under the blue lights. Her tattoos lit up with her words as she began to speak slowly, carefully. I am Kaelira, last of the Renite Keepers, she said in clear English. There was a pause, then murmurs. Dane stood behind her silently, letting her speak. My world was not destroyed by war. She continued. It was destroyed by fear, by a voice that promised power. It grew through silence. It fed on blame. She looked directly into the screen. I was once called a thief, but I was only holding what was too dangerous to leave behind. More silence followed. Then came a question from a woman on Mars base. Why risk your life to help us? After what we did to you, Kaelira glanced at Dane. Because one of you saw me, not as a threat, but as someone who needed help. She turned to the crowd again, and that changed everything. The message went viral across all colonies. Headlines blazed. Alien hero saves human ship. The girl we feared is the one who protected us, Kaelira, the voice between worlds. But Kaelira didn't care for fame. She only cared about what came next. Weeks passed. Unity's Dawn was invited to Earth. When the ship landed in the Geneva Space Hub, thousands of people were waiting. Some still looked at Kaelira with cautious eyes, but most looked with wonder. Dane and Kaelira stepped onto Earth's surface together, and that's when a child ran through the crowd, a little girl, no older than 7, holding a piece of paper. She rushed past security, straight up to Kaelira. Kaelira bent down gently. The girl held up her drawing. It showed the figures, a glowing alien girl and a man in a suit, standing hand in hand under a sky full of stars. That's you, the girl said. You're the brave one. Kaelira smiled warm and full of life. Thank you. The girl's mother pulled her back, apologizing, but Kaelira just stood silently. Holding the drawing in her hands, she turned to Dane. No matter how far we go, she said, this is why we keep walking. Later, inside Earth's Galactic Assembly Hall, leaders offered her medals, honors, seats on councils. She refused most of them. She only accepted one offer, to speak to school's 2 children. To those still learning what fear looks like and how to see past it, months turned to a year. Kalira stayed on Earth, living quietly. Dane worked with her on a new project, the Bridge Initiative, a program to build peace between humans and other species. Based on shared protection and knowledge, together, they traveled to other stations, other colonies, telling their story not with weapons, not with warnings, but with truth. One evening, as the sun set over a quiet Martian base, Kalira and Dane sat on a hill. The red dust swirled in the wind. Kalira looked up at the stars. "I used to be afraid of silence," she said. "That it meant I was alone." Dane leaned back, and now she smiled gently. "Now I know. You're never alone when someone chooses to stand beside you." He chuckled. "You know, you never left my side after that first day." She turned to him. "You never left mine." They sat in silence for a moment, not because they had nothing to say, but because they understood everything. Years later, on a small moon station, a child opened her history book. She pointed at a picture, an alien girl with glowing skin and a human boy in an engineering suit. "Who's that?" she asked. Her teacher smiled. "That's Kalira and Dane Keller, the ones who saved us from the dark." "Were they warriors?" the child asked. "No," the teacher said. "They were believers. They believed in each other when no one else did." The girl stared at the picture a little longer and smiled.